it. I found out last night.
This morning? Yeah, I got inspections on our clubhouse lot, so I work 5 days. They got me going down.
Oh my God.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning.
It's more meetings for everyone.
Can you send me an email just to remind me?
Yeah.
Okay, and then I'll see what I can do to try to put you in on it this week.
Okay.
Every day is a new day. That's there.
Morning, how are you? It feels like I used a master, right? Okay.
How's it going?
So she wrote my husband and I said,
Another day? Another day.
yeah. And I got some books.
If I could impose on you, I need this to work. Please, no, I mean, I need you to relocate. Wherever you want, I need one of those, this is like my workspace, I don't work from over there. I like to be, that's why I can get you in the front row. I need people to touch me and I need to touch people.
I already started it.
Oh.
I had some.
Okay, it's not this
Just so you know, there's a sign-in sheet. On the back.
Yeah, sure, I'm sorry. Before I go, how does that look? You can stick around a little bit here.
I'll stick around for a few minutes. Council wants to take a lecture or two and then bring it in about.
And they know what to do.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's wise to sign in for lunch or
Yep, just go back to
otherwise, I don't get any food.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Call them all yourself.
Are they good?
Like you have
He's funny. He says, ha ha.
I think the only person
Oh,
Brand new.
yesterday,
Yeah.
I took a look at the, it being 8 o'clock, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Sorry, I'm sort of scrambling. This is me. That's me right here. No, okay, do I have to turn the system off, Fred?
I think it's just the one button that has the projector,
No,
the far, upper far right.
Yeah, well that's,
Does it turn it on?
this is the class. Display off, but then it has to if I want to power down. I mean, I'm going to display. No.
Yeah.
Down, I'll figure it out. This is the official, I printed out my own calendar. It's 23, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Sound check, you guys got me? Does this sound? Hello? Hello? No? Whatever, we'll go with it. I'd like to start with attendance, so just identify name with a face. Alexander, I haven't seen him here. I don't know Alexander. Doctor? Claudius? Diana Griffin? Diana. Frederick Griffin? Guys like together?
Every day.
What a coincidence, you know, Stephen?
Victor. Victor. That's you. Tyler, I know you. Tula? Tula?
Yeah.
It's Tula, right?
Yes.
Noah? Laura Lopez? Chad? Kathleen Mitchell? Brandon?
Here.
Emmanuel?
Here.
Carol?
Right here.
Quincy? Rebecca? Irene? No Irene? Kyle? Paul? And Jenna?
Janae.
Oh, I see the E at the end. Janae. Okay. Welcome, this is REE 5894, Real Estate Capital Markets. Oh, you are here. Okay, if you're not, are you registered? Did I miss anybody? Is there anybody? I think everybody's accounted for, right? Okay, right? If you're not in this class, you know, you're on the wrong plane or whatever. I'm Professor Sam Miguel. I'll be driving this plane for the next few weeks. And it's an honor and it's a privilege and a pleasure to be here. I've been off for a few months, so I'll be a little rusty. But hopefully I'll start picking up. I had a late night last night as well, so I'll fill you in on that in a second. So anyway, a little bit of background, how I got here, and what I do and what I don't do. I'm a CPA by training. Professionally, I studied, my undergraduate is in accounting and finance. I worked at Price Waterhouse for 7 years. I worked in Miami and I went to work in Europe for a few years. I came back. I got into graphic arts industry and I sort of went through the corporate ranks. I started as a controller, became a CFO, became a general manager, and ultimately a president of companies in the graphic arts industries. I went to 3 different companies. I got sick with all the chemicals, but it's all heaven sent at the end. There's a plan for all of us. And at the end of the day, you know, it was a dying industry. It's still a dying industry. I don't know who reads the newspaper every morning. Very few. Who actually touches a newspaper every morning? Like touches newsprint? Yeah, just a few. But you know, just Miami Herald. 10 years ago, Sunday circulation 600,000. Today 200,000. Right? So how do you run a business that, you know, your revenue stream decreases every year? Very difficult. So I got out of that and sort of made my way. Sort of one of the other classes I teach, I set up a due diligence practice for Ernst & Young for Latin America. Did about $3 billion worth of transactions in Latin America over a couple-year period. And ultimately got into the real estate industry. I worked for a development firm in Coral Gables called Cadena Group. I ran one of the assets that we had in a joint venture with Prudential. It was a large 1 million square foot, multi-use, primarily industrial facility, but it operated as a foreign trade zone. So we actually operated our own warehouse, we had our own security force, our own trucking, you know. It was a real estate business and then some. I then became the CFO of the group. We sold the company to a company called Florida East Coast Industries. It was traded under the symbol FLA. It's the company that owned the railroad that runs up and down the east coast of Florida. So you'll hear me tell stories about that company for a while. And then we sold that company to another publicly traded vehicle, an entity called Fortress Investment Group. That trades today under the symbol FIG. They've been in the news in the capital markets over the last few weeks. I don't know if anybody read, they shut down their premier macro hedge fund some days ago. I think they experienced a couple $100 million worth of losses in the last few weeks, and you know, their sort of marquee fund had to close down. We'll talk about hedge funds and what they are and how they play in the real estate industry as well at some point later on. So we sold that business. I became the chief investment officer of that company, and then I took a year off, and that was 7 years ago, and I haven't gone back. I coach football. I coach soccer at my old high school, and that's why I had a rough night last night up here at Pinecrest. We didn't do very well. We started a freshman quarterback, and he threw 5 interceptions. But that's what happens, you know. At a certain point, you got to take. You know, we knew we had to do this at some point. First game, you know, a lot of tears. But you know, you build from there. You know, you won't forget the night. But we got good things going in the future, and I'm transitioning. I start soccer this week. We'll finish our last football game this week, and I've already got 2 soccer games this week. So it's kind of they're hectic times. So that's what I do for a living. I do dabble. I've got investments in 3 different real estate funds, and I'm pretty active with them. I don't manage them, but I am active with those who manage them. So this week I was on the phone a couple of times with the acquisitions guy in one of the funds, figuring out what happens, what doesn't happen. I'm currently mentoring 3 former students as well who are in the midst of starting their own business as well, and you know, slowly moving along in their activity. So that's how I stay involved, and that's how I play in this business. I teach 3 different classes right now in the program. Some of you have had me for the accounting class already. And hopefully all of you will have me for the diligence class next term or next half term, something like that. For me, it's a privilege. It really is. It's a privilege and it's an honor to be here. I don't do this. Most of us don't do this. I don't think any of us do this because it's a high-paying job. We do this because we want to share what we know. I don't know everything. I was thinking driving up, the one thing that I can tell you is I have no answers for you in this particular class. Hopefully you don't think I'm going to sell you short. Hopefully I'm going to give you a lot of questions. And there's a particular class that will leave you with questions that you will always ponder and continue to ponder. And you may never have the answer, but asking the question is hopefully going to help you navigate the decisions that you need to make. So there's a lot of material to cover. We're going to get through all of it, hopefully, and hopefully it'll make you better professionals in this industry or in any other career that you choose. There's a lot of personal financial information that you can take from this class that may also help you as well. Again, I don't have the answers. You know, students at school that are at stock club, they're like, oh, you know, I had a couple of football players the other day who were like, oh, we joined the Florida State stock picking challenge or something, you know, can you give us some tips? Probably not. You know, if I had tips, I'd probably keep them to myself. But hopefully I can give you questions that will help you formulate a strategy, right? Christian, is that you? Okay, so you've come in. So let me just. I know some of you. I don't know all of you. I'd like to hear just a couple minutes of your background and things you might, curiosity you might have. Hopefully you've already read, most of you have read the advanced material. Any ideas of things that you want to pick up on, you want to learn, you're curious about? Because this is a class that evolves. And I remember one time I taught it, people wanted to talk about derivatives involved in the real estate industry. So, you know, I didn't know that much about it. And I did some research and wound up spending 3 hours on it one day. We don't have 3 hours to spend on derivatives in the real estate industry, but, you know, maybe we can touch some topics that, you know, might not be part of the syllabus right now. So, Victor, if you could start, just, you know, a little blurb. I don't know if you know everybody here, maybe you do, maybe you don't.
Okay. My name is Victor Hogan, from New York City. I graduated undergrad last year, 2014.
And your undergrad is in?
Oh, economics and Spanish literature.
Okay.
I went to Dickinson College in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So I only have like almost a full year of work experience from after I graduated. I worked.
Are you working now?
No.
Okay.
So after my year, throughout my year, I was a acquisition specialist in New York City. So I did talk with a lot of brokers and try to find buildings for my company to purchase start New York City down here. So really learn.
All right, excellent. The Griffins. Diana. I didn't look at the.
Diana Griffin. My background is in banking and insurance. I'm currently working in the insurance industry. I have my undergraduate in marketing management and currently living in Jackson.
So you commute. All right, and are you driving down? Is that what you're doing? Are you flying?
Yes.
You drive down? Okay. Okay. Now you both have been in the program since August now?
Yes.
You and you? Okay, so you started in August. So you've done one sort of cycle already of classes.
Yes.
Okay. Frederick?
Yeah, Frederick Griffin, my background is in mining consulting.
Okay.
I have an undergraduate in finance,
Okay.
so I commute back and forth from Jacksonville.
And are you working in the real estate industry at all right now, or?
No, just mining consulting. So
Okay.
people that want to migrate or get purchased, so Dubai or West Africa, transaction.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Very interesting. Chad?
Morning, sir. Most of you guys know me. I was an Army veteran, much like my good friend Quincy there, for 10 years, and decided to get out, transition to real estate here in South Florida. I've been here since about March. I worked for an intern for an affordable housing group here in Fort Lauderdale, and just started an internship now with a commercial retail group here in Fort Lauderdale called Diversify. So,
Okay. Are you in the brokerage side? Is that what you're?
doing more leasing.
Okay.
Pushing me towards the leasing side.
Okay.
Which is good. It's not something that's quite as covered.
Doctor?
Yes, good morning, sir. Good morning, class. My name is Claudius Carnegie, and I'm both an alumnus and a student here at Nova.
Okay.
I'm a professional engineer and an aviator, and real estate program is brand new for me. I'm doing it to try and find a niche so I could plug in maybe something at the front end of this real estate spectrum into my corporation that I'm operating right now.
Okay. And you're doing engineering work, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I teach engineering and practice engineering.
Okay. Fantastic. Fantastic. Carol?
I'm Carol Roy Jones, currently reside in Atlanta, Georgia.
So you're flying down? Yep.
Flying down. And my background is in accounting, I'm a CPA.
Okay.
An
Fantastic.
MBA in finance. I've been in residential real estate for 10 years. Graduated to fixing up, holding, and reselling to women. Other thing about affordable housing. And I came across a project, Belly Up subdivision, and I just knew it was it was affordable to get the financing, but I didn't know why others hadn't gobbled it up. And in trying to answer the question about what was wrong, it led me to this program.
Okay.
And so I'm more leaning to the entrepreneurial side, and I'm open to learning and growing. And my goal is to get myself in a position that I can give back,
Excellent.
not just make people.
And you started in the program in August? Or
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you've been
Full-time.
doing. Okay. All right. Fantastic. Stephen?
My name is Stephen Bosch. I graduated, undergraduate in Finance International Business. I graduated back in 2012. Currently involved in the real estate development market. Work for Alden Development Corporation. I'm a development associate.
Okay.
So I'm here to kind of sharpen up my skills.
Okay. And what kind of work does this firm do?
They specifically do multifamily apartments.
For sale?
No, for rent.
For rent, okay, all right. They hold it or they flip
They
it?
flip it.
Okay, so they're working with institutional partners? Okay, all right, fantastic. Janae?
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Janae Valentine. I got my undergraduate degree in marketing from Ohio University, Cleveland originally. This past summer and the beginning of the fall, I worked with a company called 170 International Realty, and I did an internship with them where they're known for like luxury real estate, but they wanted to get into commercial. So I worked with their commercial director and trying to start up that side of the business so they can keep more money in. And I have my real estate license, so.
And what they're trying to do is play in the leasing side of the commercial space? Is that what they're trying to do?
Yeah.
Or- Okay, they're not trying to develop?
No.
Okay, all right. Laura?
Yes, my Laura, my undergrad is on criminal justice. I have been a paralegal for about 10 years, and in between being a paralegal, I did some real estate work. I did have a mortgage broker's license for like 2 years before the market crashed, and my mom's a realtor, and I've been helping her out for like about 10 years, you know, with her business. She has her own business, and I really want to get, you know, I'm learning a lot. I'm like halfway through the program. I'm very excited about, you know, the market and what's happening with real estate right now. So, and I have no finance background at all, so I'm looking forward to learn
Okay,
in this class.
fantastic. Kathleen?
Kathleen Mitchell, originally from Baltimore, Maryland. Started the program last year this time, just taking 1 or 2 classes at a time. I'm a portfolio manager for Fannie Mae.
Okay.
My primary interest is to become an infill developer in an urban area. But I'm really looking to shore up my financial understanding of the real estate industry.
Now, are you working through troubled loans right now? Is that what you're doing in your
Yes,
work?
I
Okay,
manage
all right.
foreclosures in Florida.
Okay, all right. Fantastic. We had another student, no, I was, when I did my master's, there was a guy that did that same work. Alexander?
Yeah, started the program in April. I started off in residential real estate, and then over the summer I interned for Styles Realty, working on the market research for Publix, Chipotle, Walmart in the South Florida area. I did that for 8 weeks, and then I actually got in negotiations for a full-time position with them right now, working out the details as we speak.
Okay.
So that will be hopefully happening next few weeks.
And it'll be in the development side, or?
No, I'll be more on the retail development side for
Okay.
commercial and retail. Just basically spend some of my time basically doing the same thing I was doing, land acquisition for Publix, you know, scouting locations in the beginning, going through neighborhoods, figuring out who owns what, and see if we can purchase, you know, if it makes sense. And then we package it up and bring it to our construction guys, who then build it.
Excellent.
Yeah, so that's kind of where it's
That's awesome.
basically, it's a retail development where it looks like a penny to us.
Excellent. Tyler?
Tyler Kitson, originally from New Jersey, graduated from Rollins with an economics degree. Then played professional golf for about 4 years. Retired from that. And then slowly transitioned into real estate. Currently a project manager over in Naples for a developer who focuses on master plan communities and things of that such. So looking to expand my knowledge and make my way up.
Good. Excellent. Rebecca?
I just graduated in last December with my undergrad in urban planning from FAU.
Okay.
And while I was in college, I worked for a developer. And then I interned in New York doing like general contracting, developing renovations in like big, gorgeous apartments, and in New York City. And then I graduated, and now I work at Garcia Swanberg Architects, and I do like project assisting. I don't know AutoCAD's not like the architects, but I do like other stuff and help them.
And you started in August as well?
No, I started last in like this past August, like this
like
fall, yeah.
Like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Noah?
Noah Leon, just started the program today. From Lenox Hill, Manhattan. And
Lenox Hill, that's like a neighborhood?
yes,
Okay.
well, Manhattan's kind of big.
That's all relative, man, but yeah.
I've been involved in everything. Currently I'm with Better Homes and Gardens, real
Okay.
estate under the Realogy umbrella.
Okay.
And some pieces under Realogy as well. I am the now, I guess, designated professional dealing with rebuilding together on a national scale with the Meredith Corporation.
Okay.
And one of my interests is to develop either 55 plus housing or low income to middle income. And I was just gonna get my feet wet and do it, since I figured what's a year out of my life and I'll come do this.
Well, hopefully this program, and what I tell people, hopefully this program, if you make the investment in reading and doing your work, can shortcut a tremendous amount of time. You know, I tell people it could cut 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, depending on your background and knowledge. But you gotta put, you know, the effort into it. If you just sit back and hope to do things on Saturday, it ain't gonna get there, but you can do it. You know, it's a good decision, I think. Christian, you're new today.
Yes, sir.
Welcome.
Good morning, thank you. My name is Christian. I'm an alumni here from Noah as well. Did my undergrad in business administration with concentration in real estate. Former Marine as well, veteran. I'm currently involved in, we own a small construction company. We've been remodeling houses for the investors that are in the area now. Currently doing like an average of 6 to 7 houses a month. Okay. If you guys out there want to get into flipping or remodeling, let me know. Very happy to be here.
So are you a contractor? Are you a GC?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
The company has, you know, kind of qualified. Actually a test away from
Okay,
being
so you're working,
GC.
okay,
Yes.
so you're working your way to that one, okay, but you've got somebody that you work on.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, sir. So, as my background in real estate, I really consider myself entrepreneurship, you know, for anything. So, and have some background in export and import as well.
Brandon?
Yeah, my name is Brandon Newman. I graduated this past May from Florida State with a degree in real estate.
Okay.
Last summer I did an internship at Stonegate Bank, and now I work as a project manager for a general contractor. We're building an assisted living facility.
Okay. And will they're strictly a contractor, or are they developing this for themselves to then operate, or?
It's kind of like a weird situation. So
It's kind of like a weird situation.
Okay. So the company is called KD Construction. They're shell contractors. In the shell contracting, that's the I guess the main company, but then they have a small development side that the owner has. So we're on the development side, but we keep the name KD Construction.
Okay.
So I guess there's a general contracting side.
So what you just kind of laid out, for those of you who don't know the industry, you usually have some sort of business that's involved in the real estate industry, and that's owned by somebody. But the spoils are usually held by that same owner. So whatever is being developed in a lot of cases is totally separate and distinct from the development firm or the construction firm. So these businesses will operate typically for little or no profit, and the equity interests are held by the owners or the manager owners, either individually or in partnership with others. So very typical in the industry. Okay, so you typically separate what's ownership. There's a lot of reasons for that. And at some point in the program, we'll talk about that. Maybe
Yeah,
in this
we
class.
have like a ton of salespeople trying to think that we're subcontractors, just because we call it the KD Construction name. But
Paul?
Yes,
Paul,
Paul
right?
Sachi's my name. I, second generation Floridian. I graduated from Florida State University in 1993. My background, I spent 15 years in medical device sales in the corporate healthcare industry in sales and management. It's a lesson to everybody. Nobody ever thought that a recession would ever come in our lifetime, and it hit me really bad. So, long story short, career change, career rebuilding is my motivation. 3 years without a job, or a real job, 50 to 75 resumes a week. construction was not going on, I couldn't even get jobs in doing construction labor, you know, whatever job I could pick up, I would do. You know, it was a pretty rough time. Friends, family, that I've known in real estate, commercial real estate investment services, some development, and, you know, why don't you get your real estate license? And, families had some income properties, so, you know, just figured it was a good direction to start in. Eventually, market will start going up, you know, peaks and valleys. And, so that's what I did. I started in residential, and, wasn't for me. So I started directing myself towards commercial because of the business background. And, went out on my own, took some classes, learned, some of the financial components of it, which is basically a review from school, and, successful in getting some listings, and, we could build on that. Future goal is commercial properties with an investment focus, and then some small scale development as well.
Okay, excellent. Tula? Now, are you new? Or you started in August as well?
I started in August.
Okay, all right, yep.
My background is computer science, and I did my master's in information systems.
Okay.
But I own a small chain of restaurants to whom I owe the commercial real estate under them.
Okay.
The reason I started this program is because I was getting offers to sell those properties that to me seemed totally off the wall and very, very high, exorbitantly high. So I started asking questions like why so high, and I got some remarkable answers, so I went out and I bought one more fabulous commercial property. I'm here to learn how.
And are you operating a restaurant in that property or no? You're strictly a landlord there?
No, I'm operating the restaurants.
Okay, all right.
All of them.
Including this new property you bought?
Yes.
Okay.
6 of them now. There's 2
Excellent.
under construction.
Okay.
And one of them is under due diligence and architectural plans, and I have 4 others open and operating. I also deal with cities. I have the RFP for be a restaurant here for the beach. So I'm into green building, and I'm a member of the green building council.
We have somebody who's very green here too. Are you registered in this class? We all look at her.
Oh, by the way, guys, make sure you sign up for lunch.
I think you already left.
No.
Sorry.
Kyle, aren't you in charge? Is there still time for people to sign up for lunch if they haven't signed up for lunch? Do you need to make an announcement? Quincy, I'm not trying to steal your thunder. I just, food sort of seems to be on everybody's mind. Okay. All right, Quincy, we're almost around the loop. Quincy, talk to us.
Quincy Smith, graduated from FIU. My undergrad was psychological education and clinical counseling. I'm an Army veteran, just retired in February. Started the program in August, like 90% of us in here. Real estate, I own a real estate company, so to speak. We renovate and sell single family homes in Virginia and North Carolina. I can't send the fly to live in Miami nowhere. As far as why I got into the program, I kind of wanted to do more than just a home here, a home there. I wanted to kind of see if I can develop a neighborhood, maybe an apartment complex, a condo, something better than just a house here, a house there. That's about it for me.
Thanks. Kyle?
Kyle Thompson. I graduated last May with an undergraduate in psychology. I've been a residential realtor for about 6 months now, and pretty new to all the real estate stuff, but learning a lot as I go on. I started the program in August. I'm looking to get more into the mixed-use development side of it, and yeah, just like I said, pretty inexperienced, so just trying to keep an open mind and see what I can learn.
Manuel?
Hey, I'm Emmanuel, and actually, my dad forces me to disclose this now. I'm a second generation builder.
Okay.
I'm also a licensed general contractor in the state of Florida. My interest started, well, my dad has been doing it for about 35 years. And
Here in South Florida, or?
Yeah, here in South Florida, well, throughout the whole state of Florida now.
Okay.
So when I graduated with an undergraduate in construction management and business administration, so when I got to the right age to start doing my own thing, I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I decided to buy a property in downtown Las Olas. It's like a nice property for Riverside, and start developing the property. I want to build like 4 townhomes. So while I was doing that, I was thinking about the program that I could do to get a background on what I'm working on. So that's when I ran into Matt, who told me about the real estate development program. And my goal pretty much is to learn about REITs, how to raise funds, how to work taxes, because I mean, that's the most important. And pretty much learn how to manage money on the legal side and capital and all that stuff.
Well, hopefully we can give you tools. We can't answer all the questions, but hopefully we can give you tools to help guide you through all of those questions that you have. But I think we can definitely help in the program. Maricel, are you in the program? I mean, I know you're in the program. I apologize. I don't have you registered, but you're welcome to be here. Are you? Are you? Really?
I think so. Can we check?
But I got a new list today. Okay. You probably need to, I mean, stay and do the work and all that, but like, you probably need to speak with Matt or Doc. In fact, I asked him yesterday, because I hadn't seen your name, and he said he didn't know what was up with you. Okay, don't worry, just, you know, get to work. Can you let us know about your green, I'm sorry.
Green light. My name is Maricela Comendia. I'm an engineer by trade. I've been doing LEED certification, LEED for commercial properties the last few years. Hopefully I'll be well certified as a new one for you. I just wanted to get a little bit more knowledge on development. Being a developer, I just got a small property in Pinecrest, and I'm hoping to start construction soon. 4 townhouses, sustainable, green. I don't know whether to certify them or not yet, but they will be built with the sustainability standards. Hopefully, I will move forward to mixed use, but I'm starting with residential.
Irene?
Irene Tamayo, originally from Venezuela, Caracas. I graduated in international business. I majored in international law and international negotiations. I studied at the Merchant Marines in Venezuela, where I did my first master's. Then moved to the U.S. and by chance I got into real estate. I was working in telecommunications before. So I decided to study and understand real estate in the U.S. So I went through broker, building portfolio, CCIM, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So being CIO of a family office, then I moved into private equity. I used to manage a fund for the past 7 years, a private equity fund in real estate hospitality. And right now I'm sort of taking a sabbatical year, and I'm advising private equity companies that have under $250 million assets under management in their structure, capital raising, and investment and processes, and sort of working as their external CIO. The reason why I'm here is I wanted to understand development from the developer standpoint, and not from the investor. It's a challenge when you're an investor to understand where they're coming from. And sometimes when you're sitting on a board, you have to trust them because you don't have all the tools and all the answers. So I wanted to understand a little bit more, and also I'm working towards my PhD.
Excellent.
Well, I just started. To look and apply, etc. for my PhD, I want to teach eventually.
Great. Awesome. As you can see, there's an incredibly varied, set of backgrounds and experience levels and knowledge, and you will learn more from one another than hopefully you'll learn from your instructor, believe it or not. You'll probably learn more doing work yourselves together than you may from the instructor. Ultimately, you'll get out of this class, you'll get out of this program what you put into it. And I can tell you definitely that with the different, backgrounds, the engineers, the financial types, the construction types, in some programs I didn't get a lot of architecture. We've had a lot of architecture in the past as well. You will get different, varied levels of disciplines and backgrounds that people have in the program, the brokerage side, the marketing side. And hopefully that will all complement what you're learning from the classroom, what you're learning from the textbooks. At the end of the day, if you learn from the textbooks but you can't apply it, we didn't do a good job. Hopefully one of the things that we can do is take the knowledge from here, help make it practical. Okay? So, that's good. This class is, it's really a finance class above anything else, more than anything else, but it is not a quantitative class. So, if you're not mathematically inclined, don't worry. I think we'll do one calculation, maybe two, in this particular class. It's much more conceptual than it is quantitative, okay? So from that perspective, what I try to do is bring concepts that are very broad within the capital markets, try to understand them, and to the extent that we can, apply them to real estate. And understand how real estate plays a role within the capital markets in this country, understand how the capital markets interact with real estate, understand the entire, one of the things we'll work through today, understand the financial intermediation process, understand matching of funds, and also ultimately try to understand or figure out who the right person to go to figure out the right capital structure or to provide the funds. Manuel was talking about how do I get the funds, how do I raise the capital. Those of you who've taken my accounting class, see, I always draw my balance sheet kind of like this, right? And so assets are here, and liabilities and equity are here, right? So your assets are ultimately supported by liabilities and equity, right? I mean, I'm not going to teach accounting, but assets equal liabilities plus owner's equity, right? So ultimately, this class talks about this side of the business, which is the capital stack. And ultimately, how do we finance debt? How do we raise equity? Who are the logical players there? And how that all interplays with the real estate market. I will try to not, the program is finance intensive, so I will try to not overstep matters or topics that are covered in other classes. We may overlap on some things. I don't teach all the classes, so I don't know exactly, and as we evolve with instructors, as instructors evolve with their programs, as students request information, there may be certain things that are covered in certain classes. We may cover them again. There's no harm in that. One of the things I tell students, the fact that you're being exposed to multiple professionals, we all think differently, we all have different backgrounds, we all come from different companies, and we all have different experiences. So you may see a projection done in one class that's different than a projection that's done in a different class, and it's done differently than another instructor has. That's all okay. Ultimately, what we're helping you is to develop your own structure, your own way of thinking, your own methodology. Try to learn from everybody that's here. My answer isn't always right, but it isn't necessarily wrong. It's what I bring to the classroom, with the experience that I have. There is far more material in this textbook and in this class than we can really cover in 4 sessions. So ultimately, in this class, as in any other graduate class, there's a tremendous amount of self-learning. So if you come to class and didn't read the book, I don't do pop quizzes here like I do in other classes. Those of you who've had me before. People that come in and What was the subject matter that we were supposed to read about? I don't know. So, I'm not gonna do that, you know, but ultimately, I can't cover 5 chapters worth of material in a day. I can answer questions, right? I can guide the significant topics or address the significant topics, but I can't address everything. So if you don't do your bit, the learning process is going to fall short. And ultimately, you pay good money to be here. You spend good time to be here. Take advantage of it. I'll do my best. I could be wrong. I may say things, yeah, I don't know, sometimes your mind works. You say something and you go back, wait, did I really say that? Or I drive home and I go, I didn't really explain that right. Okay, so I could make mistakes. Don't hesitate to stop me, ask for clarifications, and hopefully you'll accept that if I make a mistake, you know, I made a mistake. I may not have an answer. This is not, I think in the accounting realm, I probably feel a lot more comfortable that I have an answer off the top of my head. In this class, I may not have the answer, but I'll do my best to get the answer for you. Okay, so if there's something, you know, somebody asked me about beta once, you know, alpha. I'm seeking alpha and all that. What's alpha? Well, I've got a vague notion of what alpha is, okay? But I went back and researched it, okay? I'm happy to do some work and learn as well. I'm here to learn from all of you. I do a little bit more PowerPoint here in this class than what I do in some of my other classes. I do have a PowerPoint like introductory slide presentation, okay, so that you know what to expect. I'll just do the PDF I have with this, so I don't forget all the animation and all that.
Or next to the percentage.
Yeah, no, but I wanted to get rid of.
First the percentage.
It's not this side. I want to get rid of all these tools here on the right.
Right next to the percentage, you have the little 2 arrows. That one.
Okay. Close enough. Thank you. All right. 5884. This is how you reach me. Has everybody received an email from me? Yes. Everybody's received an email from me. No? Who hasn't received an email from me?
I received an email. I just wanted to ask, would you be using Blackboard?
I will not use Blackboard. I will not, everything that I can do, I'll tell you, we can communicate via email. I will use GoToMeeting, and we'll talk about that in a second. I will use GoToMeeting. We'll have access that way. I've thought about using Blackboard, but ultimately, I can communicate just as easily with just, you know, email.
So will you send us your PowerPoint by email then?
I will send some PowerPoints in this class via email. I don't generally send my notes. In this class, I will send my lecture notes afterwards. Because if I send them before, people are looking at my notes and they're not looking, and we'll talk about that in a second. So I will send them after the class. I promise you that I'll respond as quickly as I can, and typically within a day. It might slip, but typically within a day. All right, I don't think there's anything that urgent here. Someone asked if they could use their personal email. I've been asked to use Nova email. If for some reason you haven't figured it out yet, you can forward your email from Nova to a personal account, and you can use that server to respond back. So you can kind of work transparently that way if you want. So, but it's up to you. I mean, if you want to write to me from Gmail, you can. You know, my goal is to write back to Nova because that's what they've asked me to do. It's like, I don't know, you know, I guess it's for your protection, you know, that everything is It's documented. Look, ultimately, we're here to learn. We're here to learn. You know, we all get hung up on grades. We all get all hung up on, you know, a bunch of different things. We're here to learn. And if we're not here to learn, we shouldn't be here. That's the ultimate objective of this class, of this program, and education. Learning, I have a friend in Spain that always tells his kids, he says, look, listen, and learn. Ultimately, to learn, you need to read. You need to listen, and you need to work. And learning is hard work. And learning involves making mistakes sometimes. Because that's how we grow as persons, okay? And so, we got to look at the program that way as well. If it were easy, if we knew it, if we didn't have to study, we wouldn't be here. And so we got to put that effort in order to get something out of it. I did my master's later on in life, and I kind of struggled with the amount of work that it involved. I was working, I was going to school, and I was like, I wish I could read faster. I wish I could absorb it easier. I wish that it would stay with, I wish I could do the math easier, you know? And so, it's not easy. It's not easy. But that's how you get better, and that's how we grow. You know, ultimately, I coach, and so I see that with athletes, right? You know, if you don't put the effort in, if you don't go to the weight room, you don't get stronger. If you don't run, you don't develop stamina. You don't develop speed. And that's the same thing with our, you know, with our minds and with our careers. We got to exercise it, right? As I said, this class is not as quantitative. What I'm really focusing on is methodology. Can we access the tools? Can we touch the subjects that will ultimately help us see where the information is that will give us the answers? Methodology, as far as I'm concerned, is key. I teach 3 different classes. I try to use a different approach in all of them. One, it's easier for me because you know, I change, right? But it's also easier for the students as well. All right? In this class, you will have an individual case study. I'll talk about that in a second. All right? So this talks about, you know, what are we going to talk? We'll talk about the capital sources. You know, we'll talk about that capital stack. We'll talk about the significant players there. We'll try to understand how these businesses work so that we understand which is the right intermediary to approach, which is the right capital source, which is the right debt source, which is the right equity source. Ultimately, we can talk about how we approach them as well. Okay? We'll talk about the financial instruments that are involved on both the capital, on both the equity and the debt side, so we understand some of the features, some of the benefits, some of the risks that are associated with dealing with those sides of the capital stack and with the instruments that are associated with them. And we'll talk in the last class, we'll talk a little bit about securitization, we'll talk about REITs, we'll talk a little bit about ETFs, probably not that much. This course is continually evolving. The markets are continually evolving. One of the things we'll talk about is financial innovation. So as markets evolve, as instruments evolve, as your questions evolve, we can take, you know, more of a focus in one area or in a different area. Textbooks. I know a lot of frustration with a textbook. I'm going to give you my end result on all of this. I have not wanted, how much did the paperback of this cost in Amazon? 15 bucks, 40 bucks, something like that. Okay, the end result of the frustration of working with a book that's out of print but is widely available in the secondary market is I am going to spec a new textbook next time. It's going to be $250 and it's going to be available in a bookstore, and I will get all the emails at the last minute with, I waited. My advice to all of you, those of you who took the accounting class, I told you in May, what textbook to buy to avoid this problem. So I was shocked. I was shocked to get, I just ordered it and it's not in the bookstore. Okay, we went through that. Okay, so the end result is I'm going to, you know, have to spec a $250 textbook next time because
you're good. This was.
You got it.
This was a good fight. This was good.
This was good. I thought it was good. Okay, you got to read the book. You got to buy the book. You got to read the book. At the end of the day, this book is no different than any other financial institutions and capital markets book. Okay, the chapters may be in a different sequence, all right, but ultimately the source information is the same. Right? How we take that information and how we process it is ultimately what matters. You need to subscribe to the Wall Street Journal. You need to subscribe to the Wall Street Journal. I started doing this 2 or 3 semesters ago. It's $1 a week if you're a student. You can put my name on it. okay? I don't care. They give me a free subscription, I deny it. I pay for my subscription. I don't want subscriptions for students. Go to WSJ, look for the student offer, okay? Do it now, okay? It's $1 a week for the term, okay? You'll pay $15 for a quarter. You should be reading the Wall Street Journal regardless. You should be reading the Wall Street Journal regardless. I cut stuff out from the Wall Street Journal today that we'll go over from this morning. Okay? So read the Wall Street Journal every day. Yes, sir.
Are we going to be doing things from there? Or?
Absolutely. There is an assessment that you will be doing every week online from the Wall Street Journal. So if you don't read it, you won't be able to answer the questions. You don't need to subscribe to do the questions. You can go to the WSJ assessment site. I'll send you an email during this week on how you need to register, okay? And I will not be providing links to the articles and giving you unlimited time so that you can get 100. You will have to read the Wall Street Journal every day. You'll be surprised when you get a quiz.
At least 15 minutes though. Come
Yeah,
on.
can we
let's
when
negotiate
it gets
on the
down to
time.
like 7 minutes, you're like clicking to get through it.
It's only 10 questions, but it's multiple choice. A, B, C.
Oh yeah, they're time.
Let me see, I'll do A this time.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, I do be on everyone.
okay, I'll give you enough time, but look, here's the thing. If at the end of the day, what I'm trying to create, I'm not trying to bust anybody. What I'm trying to create is discipline in reading a publication that is critical. If you want to be in business, in any business, including real estate, at the end of the day, why?
It's no.
All right, now the problem is, okay. Listen, so ultimately the purpose of the assessment is to get you into the habit of picking up the Wall Street Journal every day and reading it. Let me ask a question. This is a question I always ask to the students that I have. Where are the 10-year treasuries today?
2.08.
2.08.
Oh wait.
Checked it this morning on the way
Yeah,
in.
come on. Oh, okay.
32.9.
Okay, so, and we'll find out why is that important. Why is that, those of you who had my class before, why is that important? Why is the 10-year treasury rate so important in this industry?
Spreads.
Why?
The spreads.
Spread, what's spreads? Spread from what?
Well, it's the basis of what they're.
There we go. So it's probably the most important baseline interest rate that we could use to then measure spreads to different returns or different expected returns in the real estate industry. So ultimately, if we don't know what the baseline is, what do we know what to shoot for? How do we know if something is good or bad? How do we know what to expect? So if there is a typical spread that exists between 10-year treasuries and 10-year commercial mortgage debt, how do we know when we underwrite, when we're talking to somebody at lunch and they say, oh look, I got this building, it's $200 square feet a foot, it's 100,000 square feet, so okay, that's 20 million bucks. You're thinking, okay, what's leverage? I don't know, I probably get, I don't know, it's income, I'll probably get 70, 75% on it. And you start doing sort of like your pencil, you go, well, how much is debt going to be? And ultimately, if you know what that spread should be, then you should be able to figure out, you should be able to go back with the envelope and say, hey, it's worth my time or it's not worth my time, Let me pursue it, let me not pursue it. Okay? Preparation and participation, 10%, that's highly subjective on my part. Participation, just gotta talk, man, ask questions, If you don't participate or prepare, this is gonna double or triple or whatever. So just make it easy on yourselves. The assessments are 20% of your grade. Your individual case study, I'll talk about that in a second, is 20% of your grade. Midterm 25%, final 25%. So we'll have a final, we'll have a midterm. It's only 4 sessions. So midterm is at the end of the next session. Final is at the end of the last session. Okay? It's compressed. So we gotta work through a lot of material. I love tests too, I really do.
Quizzes.
It's like more grading for this is like, okay, you guys, this is like de novo grading scale. You gotta show up, you gotta do assignments before. Okay, listen, those of you that are in my class, I can't have electronics on in my class. If you guys need to talk on the phone, Go outside. We're adults. I may need to excuse myself. We all have families. We all have issues. Okay? I'm on stage. And if, you know, when I did my master's, I discovered something that was terrible. I had instructors that would talk like this. And I never figured out why the instructors were always looking at the back of the class like that. And why do you think that is? Because highly distracted, trying to talk to somebody, and they're sending a text. Or they're playing on Instagram or Snapchat or you know, Facebook or whatever. Okay, so electronics, oh please, if we need electronics, if we need laptops, I'll let you know. If we don't, I expect them to be closed. That's the only thing I ask. And I have absolutely no problem. I have absolutely no problem. If you need to stand up 5 times, like I say, I know we all have responsibilities. I'll probably have to excuse myself at one point for a few minutes this afternoon. I have no problem. You stand up, go outside, take care of whatever business you need to take care of. Okay? If you have your phone near you and you got a text from your family, you got to deal with it. I understand. Stand up, go outside, and deal with it. We're adults that way, but I need that. I can't have, if I have people buried here, I lose my train of thought. And if I lose my train of thought, I'm not giving you the best, okay? So please work with me on that. Listen, this is important. There's no stupid questions, okay? If you don't understand something, ask. If something doesn't make sense, ask. Stop me, ask me to repeat it, challenge me. Bring in additional insight that you have on a particular subject. Ultimately, we all learn from one another, okay? So I don't want this to be a one-way. If it's a one-way, it's a very long day, especially this class. We don't have windows here. It's a very long, you know, we can't look at the people walking by, you know, we can't see if it's raining, so it's a long day. It needs to work both ways, okay? I don't know, okay, get rid of that. Okay.
I have a question. You said
Yes, sir.
no laptop.
Yes, sir. Yep. Sorry, I'm glad you asked them. Okay, no. Okay, listen, one individual case study, all right? I used to do a group case study in this class, and again, I whittled down the amount of work from the first time that I've taught this class. One individual case study. I'm trying to make this, our master's is not very academic, and you should be thankful for that. So, you know, we're not asking you guys to do a bunch of academic research, but I will ask in the individual case study here that we focus on academic sources, okay? I'll send them to you if you want. Did you guys, we had the library lady come at the initial orientation in August. This is a wonderful library. When I did my master's, I used this library instead of FIU's where I did it, because it was much better than what I could get as a student at FIU. This is an incredible library, incredible access to reference material. You've got 7 or 8 real estate journals, or journals that deal with finance involved with real estate, available through this library here. What I'm going to encourage you to do is to think outside the box in this individual case study. And look for research. Look for what work other people have done and try to interpret it, okay? I'll give you an example. We'll talk a little bit more about this later, because we're going to spend a little bit of time later today talking about what we need to do, because we'll start going on them. The only thing I ask is I need those done the Tuesday before the session in which you present. We'll present the 3rd session, the 4th session, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th session. I need a Tuesday because with 24 students in the class, we're going to be doing 7 or 8 of them a weekend. I need time to review. Okay, so you'll have plenty of time to do it. I need time to review. So we talked about that. If you do all your assignments, if you do your case studies, if you listen and participate, you get 100. You get 100. You get an A. You've heard that before, haven't you? That's from the other class, but it's really true. Okay, it really is true. Okay, listen. I've had problems with plagiarism. I've been teaching here 7 years. Since I stopped working, I've been teaching here. There's absolutely nothing wrong in an academic setting to use other people's work as long as you reference it. Give people their due. If somebody's done a lot of work, use it. If they published it, that's why they published it. That's why they've done the work. They want to share it with other people. Take advantage of it. but give them their credit. And you know, one of the tools that now Nova has through Blackboard is you can turn the stuff through Turnitin through Blackboard and check it against sources. I don't even need to use Turnitin. I can tell by the style of writing whether it's your writing or somebody else's writing. I have no problem whatsoever, and I'm repeating it multiple times because I don't want any of you to fall into the trap. I don't care if you use other people's material. Use people's material, and then derive your own thinking from it. Derive your own conclusions. Challenge it, or agree with it. But please give people credit for the work that they've done. I'll stop right now and say, a lot of the material that we have in this class comes from the textbook, but a lot of it comes from a lot of other sources. Professors I've had, other textbooks that I've used. At the end of the day, none of this thinking is mine. I'll try to give credit all the time, and I expect you guys to do the same in your case studies, okay? And in your exams, okay? I don't want people using other, you know, because then it puts me in an awkward position. It's going to put you in an awkward position. And I hate bringing it up, but I've had this problem multiple times. Please, let's not fall into that trap, okay? And, you know, you can read the syllabus. You got all the NOVA stuff on it, but ultimately, I expect there to be a cover page on any work that you turn in, that you certify that it's your work and you give them proper credit to the people that, you know, so, you know, you can get thrown out, you can get suspended, they can slap you, they can call you parents, you know, whatever, you know. I don't know, you know, so. You can work together, okay, you can study together, but you got to do your own work. You got to do your own work, okay? You got to do your own work. Email me if you have questions. One of the things that I do in this class is, I've started doing, been doing for a while, I'm using GoToMeeting now. We'll have office hours. I'll do office hours next Tuesday. So every other Tuesday I'll do office hours from 9 to 10:30. I'll send out an invitation on GoToMeeting. The only thing I ask, and I've used GoToMeeting now, I used to use Google Hangout, I use Skype. GoToMeeting is a great tool. The only thing is if you dial in, it gets tough for all the other people that are there. I'd rather that you're somewhere, and try not to be on your phone. There's nothing more distracting than talking to somebody, and you see like the roof, you know, like moving, and you know, they get you dizzy and all that. So try to be somewhere where like you've got coverage. Just try to sit down for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, dial in. I'll sit in my office. You can take advantage of the other people's questions that you have, okay? You can learn a lot from the questions that you know, other people have. So I'm here to help you learn. That's why we're here. So any questions on this? I'm going to go over the syllabus in a second.
Every Tuesday or every other Tuesday?
I'll give you the schedule. It's every other Tuesday.
So this Tuesday coming up?
So we only have 2 meetings with you?
Yeah, only two Tuesdays.
Hold on. I put them on my calendar. I'll tell you. But boy, I don't put my eyes on. Okay, so office hours, Tuesday the 27th. Hold on. Tuesday, November the 10th. And November 24th. We'll talk about this, if you're presenting a case study, you need to be on those calls. Okay, we'll talk about that in the case study. Okay, we'll talk about that in the case study. All right, syllabus. You all have the syllabus except Maricela. You should all have the syllabus. Okay, the only thing I want to show from the syllabus before this thing turns off.
What's the time of the office hours here?
From 9 to 10:30. And I'll send AM. 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 If you can't make it, that's okay. But then we need to communicate via email. Listen, all I want to do is give you go over what we are actually, so how to look at this up. Introduction today. We'll talk about intermediaries, we'll talk about the major players in the business. We'll go through a lot of background material today. Yes, doctor?
Will you record those office hours?
You know, I haven't. That chews up, believe it, it's stupid, but it chews up a tremendous amount of memory. I'm gonna try. An hour and a half of video is a lot on, I don't know if I've got the hard drive space on my computer to save it. I gotta save it, and then I gotta post it somewhere. I may. I know that it's possible to do it, so we'll see. Okay? Because some people can't.
I use another system called freeconferencecallhd.com, and
they sort of
have
host
it
it
in the cloud, so it's never on your computer.
What's it called?
Freeconferencecallhd.com, and it's just as powerful as
the Citrix solution as they
right,
go to.
exactly.
I got to take a look at that. I just don't. Is it really free? I mean, nothing's.
Yes, it is free.
Nothing's really free.
It is free. It is free.
Nothing's free. Trust me, nothing's free in life. Okay, so we'll do the kind of introduction today where it's chapters 1 through 5.
30 seconds.
Okay. We'll deal with debt and interest rates in the second session. Term structure of interest rates, you know, theory, etc. We'll deal with the equity side on the third class, and we'll deal with asset-backed securities, RMBSs, CMBSs, and other topics. Individual presentations in sessions 2, 3, and 4. Okay? Yes, sir.
Is everyone turning in their presentations not next Tuesday, but the following Tuesday? Or depending
No. So we'll assign. So the way we're going to work today is we're going to do some things. Then we'll do some more things, and then we'll do some other things. We're going to before lunch we'll sit down and go over the individual case. We'll assign them. I gave you some topics. I've got some additional topics, and what we'll do is roughly we'll do like a third of the class in each one of them. So some people will have it. So the good news for some people is they don't have to do it for the next session. You know, the bad news for some of the people that wait for the end is they think it's better, but at the end, then you got all this other stuff going on like finals and other classes and things like that. So it seems like there's really no advantage one way or another. Okay. All right, that's good. It turned off, but at some point I need to have the computer
It's
on.
restarting though.
Oh, on its own? It's trying to... okay, well we're done with that for now anyway, so... Come on up. So... you have a textbook? A textbook. You're not required to buy anything else other than a Wall Street Journal subscription for $1 a week. I'm going to recommend 3 books. You can buy them or not. I'm going to tell you why I recommend them. So, this is a book that's available through the Economist website. It's like a $15 book. It's called Guide to the Financial Markets. At one point I thought about using this for the class, trying to lower the cost. The problem is it's not good enough. It's not good enough as it relates to institutions and intermediaries, but it's a very good guide to the financial market. So from a personal investment perspective, a lot of the topics that we will address in this class have sort of a further extension here. They'll talk a little bit more about trades and, you know, how to, so, but it's like a $15 book, you know, financial markets, why they exist and how they work. So,
who's the author?
There's not going to be one.
Mark Levinson, but if you go to the Economist site, they're the ones who sell it, okay? Listen, it's like $15, but you don't need to buy it. I'm just telling you, it's an easy read. It took me 2 days to read this. It's an easy read. Yes, Noah?
The Economist just published something the other day as to why they never put people's names in it, so they can remain
Yeah, but that's The Economist as a magazine. They have a publishing unit that's separate, that does do both. Yeah, well, to not compromise, especially someone, that's another great, I don't require The Economist. I've been reading The Economist like 25 years, and I stumbled into it. It's a phenomenal publication. And as an American, sometimes you don't like what they write about America, but that's okay, because you need to hear what people think, what people see from the outside. It's a great publication. It's got great reach throughout the world and great influence, but they've got people in some very dangerous places.
Yeah. There's an app called Economist Espresso, and it gives you one free article every day, and it pops up, and it'll tell you like the top 5 things trending in the world.
There you go.
What's it called?
Economist Espresso.
Okay. This book you don't need for this class at all. This is a book that this is like a sort of like a 300 level undergraduate finance book.
The Holy Grail.
This is the Holy Grail. Okay. Have you used this book?
No, I should have before.
Okay, so there's a guy named Simon Beninga, and Simon's like, he's like the head of the MBA program at Yeshiva University in Jerusalem, but he's also a professor at Penn, I think. It's some university in Pennsylvania. And he's got 2 books. This one is like a 300 level finance, and it's called Principles of Finance with Excel. Why do I mention this book? We're not going to do projections in this class, but anytime you're going to work with Excel, there's all kinds of tricks and stuff. Excel's so powerful, you never figure out all the things that are there, right? So it's a great book. Sporadically, I have it in my office. I'll grab it, to just find something. Okay, Excel has great help tools within it, but it's a great tool. Okay, so it's called The Principles of Finance, and it's by Simon Beninga. If you really want to get powerful, he's got like a graduate level book. But other than our really techie and engineer types, I wouldn't recommend it. Okay, it's like for me, I have it, but it's like, oof, it's like, voodoo stuff, okay? But like for easy stuff, it's a great tool. It's a great book. It's worth whatever it costs. This book I came up, and I came up with this book because I was looking to change this textbook, and I reached out to the author. This guy teaches at Penn. It's called Peter Linneman, and it's called the Real Estate Finance and Investments. Who's taking the finance and investments classes here? Are you using the Brueggemann book?
I forget which one. It's not that one.
I know that. So there's 2 real estate finance books. There's Brueggemann, which is what we use, and there's Linneman.
Yeah, I think the one for investments is the same as the finance book.
Right. So we use that book, but it's the Brueggemann book. This is the other sort of Bible in this area. There's a couple of chapters here that actually apply to this class, but there's not enough material here, so I didn't spec it for this class. But it's a great complementary book to the Brueggemann book. All right, and in certain areas, it's probably more timely and relevant. There's stuff in Brueggemann that deals with things we haven't seen in 30 years in the industry. Okay, and so it's great to know participating mortgages, for example, but I haven't seen one since like 1982. So why learn it, or why do the math for it, or whatever. But anyway, so this is Peter Linneman, Real Estate Finance and Investments. So just books that I wanted to mention. You get more PowerPoints today than the other day. We had a lady that was in our National Advisory Board here in the program at one point, and she worked at Moody's. Okay, I don't remember her name, so I don't know, but she taught the real estate finance class at NYU. And so I was talking to her one day, and she said, "Oh, what do you do? She's like, "Oh, do you do like the real estate quadrant? Is that what you guys talk about?" So I don't know if any of you have heard the term the real estate quadrant. When we talk about that, to some extent, that ultimately is what this class is about, although I don't necessarily teach it from that perspective. But I am going to show you some things. So people talk about the real estate quadrant, right? And ultimately, what people talk about is, so we talked about, right, assets and then liabilities and equity. You kind of blow this up, right, and you ultimately talk about public and private, right, debt and equity. And you'll hear the terms thrown around, right, private equity, right? Public equity are obviously securities, equity, underlying interests in ownership of companies that trade in public markets. So, public and private debt, public and private equity. That's what this class is about to some extent, okay? So when we talk about that, say, well, why did I bring that up? So how big is real estate? How big is the real estate market? And I hear all these people in the class who want to get into real estate. How big is real estate? How big?
Depends on where you are. Abdullah is the richest asset man in the world because he owns the infrastructure in Saudi Arabia.
Who is this?
Abdullah.
Wasn't it? It's not like the prime minister of
Prince Saudi.
Afghanistan.
No, Saudi. But asset-wise, he's the most wealthy man in the world.
Okay, that's great. I'm not trying to minimize that, but my question is how big is the real estate market?
It's pretty big.
Okay, it's pretty big. Give me dollars.
Okay, you gotta give it time. It's even lower. Yeah, last class we did the same thing.
I apologize.
Yeah.
A few trillion.
A few trillion.
It's as big as anybody's willing to pay for whatever's
Globally or
available.
within the United States?
Let's talk in the United States.
I know new construction is like 538 billion, and then real estate sales and all that stuff is like around 32 billion.
Real estate is around 3 trillion. And where did that come from?
I think it was U.S. Census.
The U.S. Census?
Yeah. I know it was like one of those websites that crushed
No, it's nothing else because I just tried. So I tried to answer that question. How big is real estate? So yeah, it is several trillion, right? How big is our economy? How big is the national debt? I always ask that question. What's the national debt up to?
Almost 18 trillion.
$18 trillion. So is real estate as big as the national debt? Not quite, right? Maybe not, maybe not. I don't know. I really don't know. So once upon a time, I used to believe that I could get that answer pretty easily. I used to go to a couple places that had that, you know, and it would tell me, it made me feel good. It would say, the real estate market in this country is about $5 trillion. But what happened was that the people that used to produce that stopped producing that slide, and so I had to come up with my own slide for this class. So I don't know if I have the right answer or not, but I'm going to show you what I did. There was a problem. Damn it.
Will you object to us taking a 2-minute break, 5-minute break? We'll
Go on ahead and do that. Go on ahead and do that, please. Good idea. No, pero just sit in, y el lunes, llámate a, I don't know who you deal, I don't know if you deal with Matt or you deal with Fred.
The great turn on slide.
For now.
How many guys are you taking this next step?
taking Argus.
No,
on the
I
Argus
understand.
and this.
I understand, listen, I totally understand.
Yeah, the weekends I'm usually good. The first one, we had some
Thank you.
good chapters. And we had to watch a video that's like an hour long.
Still busy?
It's like
Yeah.
3 or 4 videos. This one, then we have to do 5 chapters. Good case studies. Research case studies.
It's in there.
August, you're supposed to read the first 2 chapters.
Great.
The August, the first 3 chapters are just like an overview.
Yeah.
It wasn't, it was pointless to read.
I know. I read the first like chapter and a half.
Because
Of
I
that.
feel like he's just gonna post a video that's gonna be like, yeah, this is.
Yeah, he doesn't post the videos on how to do the Argus stuff for another week or something.
You said he doesn't post videos?
He said he doesn't post the video for like another week until
Oh.
like to show you how to
Didn't he
use
post
the
like
Argus.
the first 3 sessions?
That was the market analysis class.
So what do we have to do for the art?
Nothing.
So you got
Oh, there's
a
like an intro
project
for one
too?
class.
Yeah.
What?
Like tomorrow
Bus
is
stop
like my
shelter.
day.
Oh,
And a lot of
intro
developments.
for.
Get out.
I don't
What's
know.
the cost now?
Yeah, I think the
I would say $1.3 million.
A what?
$1.3 million for 18 of them. You said what's the cost?
The bus show.
Oh, yeah, it's 18 bus stop shelters. Each of them run about $75,000 a year.
The bus shelter, how big is it?
It's a big bus shelter.
Building.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're not
Almost
talking
like
about the little
Nah.
units with the
Have you ever drove into plantations? Yeah, well, not really plantations,
My
but
problem is,
Gulf
I've
Street.
got.
Gulf Street has one of those shelters where it's like an actual house.
across the street from me, yes.
That's
That's right.
Because I know what happens
I
when
watched
you-
it build, yes.
The one in Gulf Street
Oh, no,
is
actually, actually, for what?
For charge, when they take advantage
Does your
of it.
business pay for your tuition?
But like I said, I just want.
It should, why not?
So when you tell us anything
What?
like that, so-
It's a tax advantage.
Why don't we
What
try?
is,
I
and
mean,
you
the
pay
problem
for it,
is that
you
if you
don't
do it
pay.
right,
But your
then
business
everybody
can
else
pay
does
for
it.
your school.
You understand where
Yeah,
I'm going?
absolutely.
The business right up 100%.
See, if you could,
That's the way they
John,
are.
if you got paid.
We'll charge for that.
I don't know why it's not being darn filed.
That is the place that
I live in, I'm actually from,
business because he has his
I went to high school.
business.
No.
See, what you're spending, what you're spending, what you're spending.
Well, yeah,
But if you invest in the business, let the business pay, it's 100%.
Yeah, the business is gonna pay for it.
I did
Okay,
here and
you can
there,
pay
not
for
too
it in
much.
the
I
middle
mean,
of the business.
I didn't go too much until my parents moved out to Cook.
One way or another, let the business share.
That's why I did it as a
Okay.
So, but yeah, just keep it good. It's pretty good.
No, okay, that's a nice program.
You can transfer it to your business, pay your. That's handoff, that's arm's length. Charles.
All right, guys.
Yeah, we used to just pile on the because put it in there.
Okay, guys, this wasn't like, we were gonna do a 2-minute break, and then we were gonna do like a real break. But if we do like a 15-minute break now, then we can't do another break. We got so much to do. Okay, guys, so I started, so I used to get this slide, right? And it was like really nicely done, and it said that in 2012, the capital stack was $3.5 trillion. And they used to come out from a publicly traded company. I thought that was, reasonable information, but how do you come up with that now? They stopped producing that slide. Curiously, in 2008, they estimated that the commercial real estate market was up to $4.8 trillion. And it had dropped in value. Now notice it already had recovered significantly by 2012, but it was still, almost 25% below its peak, right? So I came up with some numbers. I'll show you how I did it. I'm not saying I'm right by any means, but I'll just show you what I did and what you can do when you want to get information. Because ultimately, all I can do is give you tools. What you do with it will ultimately take you further or not as far. So I came up with my own capital stack at the end of 2014, and you know, I have some slight differences. That could be that I've got some tracking errors. It could be that I picked up wrong information, or maybe they had wrong information, or there may have been changes in the way people are financing their real estate, right? So, you know, for example, private debt, I came up with 41% of the capital stack. They had 39%. So it sounds like bank debt, life insurance debt is the single largest component of that capital stack. If we talk about, I'll get to that, Carol. If we talk about the quadrant of real estate, the single biggest bucket, right, is private debt. And it makes sense, right? Because at the end of the day, debt is probably the biggest component of the capital stack, right? So we're going to say that debt is, depending on the time, depending on the asset, depending on the asset class, depending on the stage of the life cycle of that asset, we're going to be somewhere between maybe 50 and as high as 70 or 80% leverage. So we're going to assume that debt is always going to be the biggest component of the quadrant, right? And then if we stop to think from a source perspective, most financing for real estate comes from banks and life insurance companies. So, you know, just intuitively, I'm not too far off. Yes, Carol?
Yes, you're comparing those two to say.
I'm just comparing, no, I'm just comparing those two just as a sort of frame of reference, and because I came up with $4.7 trillion at the end of the year, which curiously would bring the value of real estate back to where it was in 2008. So we, and I'll show you some other slides as the term goes on where I see real estate values, and that probably is right. We've probably gone from a peak down to some sort of, you know, trough, and probably back up, and we may actually today, 9 months after this, be actually above in most asset classes where real estate values were. Tula, you were mentioning about crazy dollars that people were talking about, and you're saying, where do these dollars come from? I don't know, but I'll show you what people are paying in another class for different asset classes and how that contrasts in a time series over time. Okay, so intuitively, Carol, I'm thinking, yeah, if in fact this number was right, that number's probably not too far off either. I don't know. Okay, but again, the biggest component of the stack is always going to be private debt. Now that's, you know, until our markets change, until the way we finance real estate changes, banks and life insurance companies are going to provide the lion's share of the capital stack in the quadrant, okay? So let's just take a look at sort of the debt component. And debt in general is at 50%. Now, here we have debt at a higher number, almost 60%. Now, as I said, debt 60%, debt 50%. Could it be that I'm wrong? Yeah, it could be that I'm wrong. But it could also be that there have been changes in the way lending institutions or lenders are working with real estate, right? So if you were to take a look, and I didn't pull it up, I've got it somewhere. If you were to take a look at the capital stack in 2008 in commercial real estate, you might actually have seen close to 70% leverage. And what happens, or what's been happening as banks have been able to work through, I'll show you one of the slides later today, CMBSs and all the CMBSs